you hear my husband in the background, I'm so sorry. He's playing video games. Anywho, I hope you guys enjoyed my last video. I'll put that in the card up here. That was about the exorcism of Anna Ecklund. Well, today we're doing another exorcism, and this one is in the United States, whereas the last one was in Germany. We're going to be talking about Anna Ecklund, aka Emma Schmidt. So Anna Ecklund is her pseudonym, and her birth name is Emma Schmidt. Well then, so Emma Schmidt was born on the 23rd of March of 1882. This is an oldie, but you're going to understand why I'm covering this case as we go through it, because if you don't already know her name, man, yeah, so she was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. She was raised in a devout Catholic household in Marathon, Wisconsin. So both of her parents were German immigrants, according to her birth records. Some sources contradict the fact that she was raised in Marathon, Wisconsin. There's also different manuscripts that somebody else exorcised her, but we'll get there. We'll get there. So it's called a Buncy manuscript, and this states that Reisinger, so Father Theodulfus Reisinger is the man, a Catholic priest that did her final exorcism. Well, so the Buncy manuscript states that Emma Schmidt, she was known as Mary X. She met Theodulfus in New York when she was about 16, and this was in 1898. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So, and if you think about that, 1898, 1882 is when she was born, so that gives us, what, 16? She was 16 when she met this guy? Well then. So, there were articles in the Des Moines Register from the 23rd of September of 1928 that stated that Reverend Joseph Steger, he was a pastor of the St. Joseph's Church, he brought a woman to the Erling from an eastern city for a ritual. So this is a giant suggestion that he brought Emma Schmidt from the U.S. East Coast and not Wisconsin. So there's a lot of unknowns, especially the year this happened. So we're talking about the late 1800s, early 1900s when we're talking about this. So there's a lot of did it really happen? Did it not really happen? The world may never know. Well, so Emma, she began exhibiting signs of possession during her adolescence, demonstrating revulsion to holy objects. She had severely disturbed thoughts. She also had experienced the inability to enter churches. And she was raised in a Catholic household, so that was a big no-no that she couldn't go into a place of worship. So, it's also known that Emma also began to take part in unspeakable sexual acts due to her mental state. And according to an account that was published in 1935, they believed that the source of her possession was her Aunt Mina. She was a reputed local witch who placed spells on herbs and food that she would prepare, and Mina was thought to have been the lover of Emma's dad. So it kind of was like a downplayed spiral of, well, thank you, watch. People thought that it could have been a love spell gone wrong. It could have just been like a hex put on, like a hex was meant for Emma's dad, but logistically it went to Emma instead. It just has a whole bunch of messed up going on. Well, so Emma underwent her first exorcism on June 18th of 1912, and this was by Theodulfus Reisinger, and he is a Capuchin priest, originally from Bavaria, Germany, which Annalise Michel is from Bavaria, Germany. So Reisinger was entrusted by Bishop Thomas Dunn of Des Moines, Iowa, to come out and perform an exorcism. Reisinger had been a monk at the community of St. Anthony's in Marathon, Wisconsin. Little is actually documented concerning this initial exorcism. However, Emma was not consulted for over 2 decades after her first exorcism. Yeah. So in the summer of 1928, Reisinger was again consulted to perform a second exorcism on Emma. Father Joseph Steiger of Erling, Iowa, he's a friend of Reisinger, suggested that the exorcism be undertaken at a convent owned by a Franciscan sisters in Erling. That way it was in a separate place from her home. Maybe it would help the exorcism take onto her. You know what I mean? Like, it could have been like wrong place, wrong time. Hopefully it's the right place, right time. I think that's why they were trying to like get through. So Emma was taken to the convent on the 17th of August of 1928, and she exhibited numerous symptoms. This included falling into fits of rage and over food. Specifically food that had been sprinkled with holy water. She was hissing like a cat. So, with the help of the Franciscan sisters of the convent, the exorcism began on the 18th of August. The exorcism was severely violent. This was with Emma levitating, she was howling, and she was hanging from the frame of the doorway. Her first session lasted until August 26th, so it started on the 18th and ended on the 26th. That's a long-ass time for an exorcism to take place. Her second session, again, was a long one. It started on September 13th, and it lasted until September 20th. Followed by a final 8-day session, which lasted between the 15th of December and ended on the 23rd of December of 1928. So, extensive exorcism, like, there was extensive damage to her body and deterioration to Emma's body. She refused to consume any food. She also vomited foul debris and what appeared to be tobacco leaves. And she wasn't smoking. She refused to eat, so what was she vomiting up? Her head, lips, and face was very swollen. She was also able to speak in multiple languages that she had no idea how to speak in. Her exorcism was so grueling and her behavior was so violent that several nuns in the Franciscan order had to be relocated after this. And they had to go to different convents because they were so traumatized by what they saw. So, Emma was believed to have been possessed by Judas. Again, here he is again, Judas Iscariot, as well as Jacob, her own father, who had cursed her with the help of his lover, which was her Aunt Mina. So they believe that she was possessed by him. And she was possessed by him because of her refusal to allow incestuous sexual advances during her adolescence. So basically, he was trying to sleep with his own daughter and she refused. So during her exorcism, she spoke in a high falsetto voice. If you don't know what that is, it is a very high-pitched voice, which Reisinger interpreted to be her Aunt Mina. On December 23rd, which is the final day of the exorcism, Father Reisinger commanded the demons in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, through the intercession of the Blessed Virgin Mary, to depart to hell. So, this is when Emma opened her eyes and then spoke in her own voice, saying, "My Jesus, mercy, praised be Jesus Christ." So, man. And this, she spoke this after Father Reisinger collapsed on her bed and began to shriek. I don't know why I have a hard time saying this. Beelzebub, Judas, Jacob, and Mina, which are the four that they are talking about that possessed her. So, Reisinger's exorcism reportedly was successful, and Emma only exhibited milder and quite manageable possessions after that. Her true identity was kept protected from the public in written accounts. So she would go on to die on the 23rd of July of 1941, and this is at the age of 59. So, what a lovely case, right? Did that sound like anything familiar to you guys? If the hanging from a door frame didn't get you, I don't know what will. So yeah, that sums up the two cases of exorcism that I wanted to cover, but yeah. I feel so bad for these two girls. Like, it's just, yeah. Man, yeah. So if you haven't, if you didn't know as well, there is a British produced film called The Exorcism of Anna Ecklund, that was released in 2016 that documented her possession in her exorcism. You can also watch the movie The Exorcism. Obviously, it's not the full-on account of it, but and you can also look up many different media sources when it comes to these cases. Yeah, so I thought those would be fun to cover. If you liked it, hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new. I'd love to have you, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.